Hey guys, so today we're going to begin with our review on order of operations. So you should get a pop-up window now for the first two questions. Okay, so let's take a look at number one. So the first thing we need to do for number one, we see 10 minus 9 inside parentheses, so that becomes the first we have to do. 10 minus 9 is obviously 1. So now we're going to carry down everything else that we have here. Okay, so we take a look across all the operations and we have division, division, addition, division, addition. So order of operations says we do division before addition. So let's do 4 divided by 1 because we have to work from left to right. So 4 divided by 1 is 4. And then we'll write the rest down. Okay, we'll do the next division. 4 divided by 1 is 4 again. Okay, now we have addition, but there's still a division right over here that we need to do next. Okay, so don't fall for the trap. Some people will want to do 4 plus 10 first, but no, you have to do 10 divided by 2 first. Okay, so 10 divided by 2 is 5. And we'll write the rest down. Okay, now we can do addition. 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Okay, so let's take a look over at number 2. We have 2 sets of parentheses here. It looks like I forgot to draw one of them. So we have to do what's inside the innermost parentheses first, and that's 5 minus 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, now be careful with the parentheses. Make sure they come down with you when necessary. Okay, so now we'll finish working inside the parentheses. We'll do 8 divided by 2 first, which is 4. And we will write down everything else. Okay, so now we have multiplication, division, and subtraction. Multiplication and division come first, and we work in order from left to right. Okay, well, the times comes first, so 4 times 7 is 28. I did the times already, sorry about that. Divided by 7 minus 4. Okay, division comes next, so we'll do 28 divided by 7, which is 4, minus 4, and we're left with 4 minus 4 is 0. Okay, you should get a pop-up box now for number 3 and 4. All right, so we need to look at number 3. We see parentheses, so we have to do what's inside the parentheses first. We have subtraction and division inside the parentheses, so let us do the division first. We'll do 7 divided by 7, which is 1. And we have to bring the parentheses down in this case, and now we will write down everything else that we have as well. That's a minus. All right, so we'll work inside the parentheses again. 1 minus 1 is 0, and we will copy down everything else we have. Okay, now we have division, subtraction, multiplication, and multiplication. The division comes first because we work from left to right and we have division and multiplication. So we do 10 divided by 10, which is 1, and I will write down everything else. Okay, now we need to do multiplication next, and we have to do 0 times 2 first because what comes first, left to right. So 0 times 2 is 0, and now we can continue to write everything. We're left with another multiplication statement, 0 times 2, which again is 0. And we'll write down everything else. And simply 1 minus 0 is 1. Okay, so if we take a look at number 4, we have 2 different sets of parentheses. So we can work them both at the same time in this case. So if we look at the first set, we have division and addition. So we need to do the division first. We'll do 5 divided by 5, which is 1. And we could do the second set of parentheses, which is 3 minus 2, and that's also 1. Now we will write down everything else that we have. Okay? We don't need to rewrite the second set of parentheses because we're done with everything inside of that. But if you look at the first set of parentheses, we're not done with everything in there. That's why we have to write that one again. Okay, so now we'll do inside that parentheses, 1 plus 1 is 2, and we'll write down everything after that. Now we need to do the multiplication. 4 times 2 is 8, and we'll continue to write everything else out. 8 plus 5 is 13. Minus 1, which means the solution is 12. Okay, so now we're going to talk about multiples. Multiples are things that you guys already are well aware of. You should know what they are from elementary school and middle school. But let's just give a formal definition to multiple, and we're just going to use simply, multiple is the result of multiplying a number. Okay, and you can multiply one number by any other number and you will have a multiple of that first number. Okay, so for an example, the multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and then so on, because there's an infinite amount of multiples of 5. You could just think of any number, multiply it by 5, and that right there is a multiple of 5. Okay, looking down underneath that, the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and so on, because there's an infinite number of numbers. So you can think of any number and multiply it by 3, and you have a multiple of 3. So you should get a pop-up box now asking you to write the first 5 multiples of these 3 numbers. Okay, so the first 5 multiples of 10, well, this is pretty easy. This is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Please note that 10 is a multiple of 10. It would be pretty silly if something wasn't a multiple of itself. You can always multiply any number by 1. So 10 times 1 is 10, therefore 10 is a multiple of 10. Okay, moving on to 12, we have 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60. Okay, moving on to 18, okay, the first multiple of 18 is obviously 18. Then we have 36, 54, 72, and finally 90. Okay, so those are the first 5 multiples of each of those numbers. Be sure that you understand the definition of a multiple, because it's often very confused with the definition of a factor. Okay, to factor a number, it means to break it up into numbers that can be multiplied together to get the original number. So let's talk about, it's a little bit difficult to understand it in the definition unless you see it in practice. So let's talk about the factors of 18. Now, factors often come in pairs. Something times something equals that number. So the first factor of any number is always 1. Okay, so now we think to ourselves, what times 1 equals 18? And that's 18. Okay, so now we'll think of the next number that divides into 18 evenly, and that would be 2. And 2 times 9 equals 18. Okay, there's another number that goes into 18 evenly, and that's 3. 6 times. And those are the factors of 18. They're currently listed as factor pairs, but if you wanted to write it out, you can write it out as 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18 should go there. I should have left a little bit more room. All right, so if you look down at the next one, the factors of 24 are all the numbers that multiply together to make 24. There's quite a few. 1 times 24. I'm going to write it out as a list now, and you'll see how I work from the outside in. 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Those are all the factors of 24. Now you see how I worked my way from the outside in. It made sure that I did not miss any numbers. Okay, so write the factors of 48, 72, and 100. You should be getting a pop-up box now. Okay, so the factors of 48 are, we'll always start with 1. And 1 times 48. So now 48, 2 goes into 48 24 times. 3 goes into 48 16 times. 4 goes into 48 12 times. And finally 6 goes into 48 8 times. Okay, when you work outside to in like that, you make sure that you don't miss any numbers. You can see that there's organized way of doing these types of problems. So the factors of 72 will work it the same way. There's a bunch of these. 1 goes into 72 72 times. 2 goes into 72 36 times. 3 goes into 72 24 times. 4 goes into 72 18 times. 6 goes into 72 12 times. 8 goes into 72 9 times. Okay, finally we have 100. 1 goes into 100 times. 2 goes into 100 50 times. 4 goes into 100 25 times. 5 goes into 100 20 times. And finally, 10 goes into 100 10 times. We don't need to write 10 twice because you just need to write each unique number that is a factor. You don't need to write the number twice. So if it's there once, it's all that matters. Okay? I'm going to put up those websites that I discussed in class today, just in case you want to go to one of them and you may have not had a chance to write them down. The first one was coolmath.com. You want to click on the link that says pre-algebra. There are a lot of the topics that we will talk about there. There's another website that I like to use. It's called mathisfun.com. That's a C, and this is an I, mathisfun.com. There's a whole range of topics there. And the last one that I like to use is purplemath.com. Okay? If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. Have a good night.